What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Formula America podcast. We're your hosts, Kurt and Dylan. And it's happened, Dylan. We have a 4-time world champion. Once again, Max Verstappen did it.
He did.
He sealed up that championship,
And he was ready to party.
Oh my God. I love I kept seeing, I don't know how many Instagram things posted it, but it was like Max getting progressively drunker throughout the night.
Dude, he was at the gin and tonics. He was like, his accent came out so hard. You're like, oh, he's actually drinking right now.
Going around talking shit to Zach Brown. I loved it.
That was great. Oh, just think, you said I could only do it in the fastest car. Ha ha. And that's like, it's like a double whammy. Because not only did he actually win, not in the fastest car, but Zach, you have the fastest car.
Yep.
And I was like, damn, bro. Good for you.
That was awesome. I love it. I love seeing Max like this and just the greatness, like whether you're a Max fan or not, just what he's done. Like it's impressive. And the fact that he's taken a car that it shouldn't be there. I mean, Checo's not a bad driver. Statistically, you look over his history, Checo's always outperformed the car. And so he's doing poorly right now, but I think it just shows that car isn't anywhere up at the front of the field with anybody other than Max Verstappen behind the wheel. So just to see what he's able to do with that, it's incredible.
I saw a really cool commentary last week from DC. I think he was talking to Eddie Jordan, but he put Max in the same category as Senna and Schumacher. And Eddie Jordan said, what about Lewis? And I just thought it was really interesting. He said, no, Lewis isn't in that category. He said Senna, Schumacher, and Max were the villains. They were the guys that pushed the envelope. They're the guys that crashed out. They're the guys that pushed you to the absolute limit, made you nervous when they come around. And that's why Max is in that category with them in both greatness and driving style. He said Lewis is in his own category because Lewis is one of the cleanest drivers there are. He doesn't make mistakes and he wins through perfection. He said, but he isn't the one that's going to crash you out. He doesn't make you nervous. You just know he's going to put the car exactly where it needs to be. He's like, so I don't put Lewis in that category. And I was like, that's actually a really interesting, kind of comparison of them. And I kind of agree, actually. Like,
yeah, I honestly hadn't really thought of it like that before. But yeah, like Max is kind of the intimidator. People always talk about when you see Max coming, like, watch out. And we've seen it this year. Look at, Lando. Basically, he's throwing him off the track. He's going to make it. So you're either not going to get past him or you're both going to crash out. And I don't, we got to see maybe a little bit of that with Lewis in 2021 because he had to. I feel like there's no other way around it. But yeah, you're right. Lewis is he's always been very clean, like you said.
Very clean.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. But I did at the same time, I know that's more about Lewis than anything. DC put Verstappen in the same category as Senna and Schumacher, which is a hell of a thing to do.
Yeah. And hell, he's got 4 championships behind his name right now. So he's in I think, what was it, like 6 drivers ever have done something like that, have got that many championships. So good for him.
Good for him. He drove a really good drive in a car that was clearly struggling. Oh, let's talk about that rear wing.
Oh,
I saw an interview with Christian Horner. They did not bring a wrong rear wing. They don't have a low downforce rear wing. And we remember this from Monza. Because remember in Monza, they did the same thing. They cut the top out of that medium downforce wing. He said, we're doing the same thing. He's like, with the budget cap, he's like, we decided not to develop a low downforce rear wing. The only 2 places you use them really is Monza and Vegas. He's like, so we decided not to. He's like, we didn't bring the wrong one. We brought the only one. And then we modified it to work. And so I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense. They've never had a low downforce rear wing. They're right. So
yeah,
didn't bring the wrong ring. They modified the only one they had.
And that was hilarious. Seeing the mechanic out there with the grinder just cutting away the wing. It's like this precision tuned piece of equipment that has spent millions of dollars in a wind tunnel. And they're just like, hey, just get out there and cut that thing off.
You see that guy with a wax pencil just drawing a rough line, kind of.
Like, who's got a steady hand? Yeah, that's NASCAR style right there.
That I was sitting there like, is that legal? Are they allowed to do? I guess you're allowed to do that, but it seems weird.
Until it's in Park Ferme, get out there and just take a sawzall to it, start cutting bits off. So that was interesting. So the stats that were coming out early on before quali was that they were approximately, I think, 7 kilometers per hour slower. Yeah. And there was an interesting graphic I saw, which it was comparing Red Bull to steak. and they're showing how Stake was considerably faster than Red Bull on the straightaways.
Alpine too.
Yeah, Alpine. Alpine.
I thought it was really interesting. A couple of times, GP came over during the race to Max and was like, "Remember, you're driving your own race." Like, I think they went into this weekend saying the goal is to win the championship. Don't worry about podium. Don't worry about winning. Our goal is to beat Lando and get you the championship, because they're basically with Checo out of the contention in constructors to get up to P2. I don't think that's going to happen with how fast the Ferraris are. And Max was super calm. He's like, I'm driving my race. I don't care. And then when the Ferraris came up on him, he was like, do I battle them? GP was like, yeah, go for it. But don't crash.
Yeah.
So I think they went into this weekend with the sole purpose of beating Lando and getting the Drivers' Championship done.
Yeah, I think honestly that's just realistic, because coming into the weekend, everybody thought the Ferraris were going to be fast. Mercedes apparently out of nowhere, starting on FP1, were fast, and so I think to think that he was going to be on a podium would be kind of let's just beat Lando. Which going into the weekend, even McLaren said that they didn't expect this to be a very strong weekend for them just because of the type of track.
It was a pretty weak weekend for them, all things considered. It
definitely was.
Dude, let's talk about those Mercs. Holy shit, they were fast this weekend. Out of the gate. I mean,
a Mercedes led every session.
Yes.
FP1, FP2, 3, quali, all of it. A Mercedes led. And we talked about it on the predictions coming into this one too. It's like, it's going to be cold. That Mercedes, for some reason, is fast in the colder temperatures. It's dog shit everywhere else, but you drop the temperature down and that car's going to be fast.
Alive. I don't... I think it's interesting because that Mercedes was a rocket ship. There was nothing on the track as fast as it, which I think says something to Mercedes development. Like, they clearly have a decent car in the right conditions. So as I was watching it, I was like, I wonder if you take this and say, okay, it's cold. So they're doing their lightest cooling package, which means that their body panels have the least amount of louvers. They have the most amount of coverage on everything because it's so cold out. And that aero package is amazing. How do we get, our cooling? To me, it's a cooling package issue at that point. Like, are they upsizing radiators? Are they upsizing louvers and vents? And because that seems to kill the car. Maybe I don't know. Like, that has to give them some really good developmental information to be that fast this weekend.
Yeah.
With very minimal upgrades.
Yeah. It's like you said, there's something there for that car. There's just one little thing I think that they're missing for every other temperature of that they come across. But yeah, there's something there. That car is fast. But we talked about also in the last one is one thing that's so interesting about this season is the inconsistencies with all the cars. Yes. And we got to see it again, like out of nowhere. Mercedes is fast now. And then cars that we thought were going to be fast, Ferrari, which Ferrari was there.
Ferrari was fast.
It's just that Mercedes was, just way faster. And George Russell,
it was really
what a good job he did.
Good job to George. He totally earned it. I thought it was interesting, like the last, 11 laps when Lewis was in P2, 10 seconds behind, and he started to eat that time down. One of the commentators, I think it was Alex Jakes, maybe it was DC, said, he's like, I'm surprised that George is letting Lewis eat that time up a little bit. He was like, if I was George, I would immediately start matching Lewis's lap times and make Lewis have no thought that he could catch him. So he's like, you're now giving Lewis hope that he can win, and that is dangerous. You need to crush that immediately, because Lewis started eating that time down, and everyone was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, starting to sit up, get on the edge of the seat. It's like, here we go, buddy.
I thought that was a really good point. You're right. Don't give Lewis Hamilton hope, because that's a dangerous thing.
Man, I was hoping for that, man. I was watching that time come down. I was doing the calculations in my head. I was like, last lap, it's going to be it. It's going to be on. And I love that Mercedes would let them fight too. So,
yes. Unlike Ferrari.
Oh, man. Is it time? Should we talk about Ferrari?
It's funny because for all intents and purposes, if we turn the drama off, Ferrari had a great race. Carlos Sainz on the podium, P4. They maximized points to get away from Red Bull and cut down on McLaren's lead on them. Ferrari had a great race, but
on paper, if you look at just the results, Ferrari did great this weekend.
But then you turn the radio on.
My God, man. So And what's wild is, like, obviously, I think everybody, the Charles Leclerc radio messages after the race overshadows everything. But if you think about what was going on during the race, Carlos Sainz, we'll start with him. He was out there. He was not happy with the tires. He was like, hey, we should think about pitting. He's like, hey, box me, guys.
Please pit me. Please bring me in.
It's like pleading. And then they tell him to come in. And then it's reminiscent of, what was it, 2022 in Monte Carlo or Monaco, and they're telling Charles Leclerc, oh, stay out, stay out. And the last second, like, Carlos,
how did he not get a penalty?
And so that's one thing I was looking into. So we have to remember there's a new race director now. It's not the same guy.
Yes, but race director doesn't control penalties. That's stewards.
Okay. So from what I was looking into, it said that they gave him a track limits violation for that. And that I don't understand how that wasn't a penalty, because I'm pretty sure it's cut and dry in the rule book, where if you cross that line again, it's a penalty. We've seen it happen with Yuki Tsunoda. I've seen it happen with Stroll. I've seen it happen with, I think,
Logan
Alonso
Sargent.
got one.
It's happened to,
and so he crossed that line. And so the fact
he didn't cross it, he was in the freaking pit lane. It wasn't like he dipped a wheel in.
It was all four wheels going from one lane to the next. It's like when you're missing or you're getting off at the wrong exit on the highway, and you just yank it and like, good luck, everybody else.
That's like, exactly what he did. How is that not a penalty?
I don't know. That's as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a slam dunk penalty.
10 seconds.
Dry. Like, that has to be a penalty. And the fact that it wasn't, I don't know. I was trying to give him a little leeway. It's like, maybe this is the new direction that we're heading, with some more subjectivity in the rule book, but I don't know, man.
We don't need any more subjectivity in the damn rule book. Sweet Jesus.
But yeah,
that was insanity.
So, and one thing that happened with him with that right there is that potentially lost him P2 in the race, because he was he was right ahead of Lewis. And then after he did that, because he slowed down, lost like 3.5 seconds, came back, went into the pits. When he came back, he was now like 3 to 4 seconds behind Lewis. And so potentially that could have lost him P2 in the race. I
think that's a moot point. He was going to lose that spot to Lewis no matter what. That car was a rocket ship.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought was insane is everyone started on the mediums. Leclerc, when that medium went, I mean, he dropped back like 10 seconds in 3 laps. I mean, he fell off the map. And I think everyone kind of went, oh shit. Like, you know, when this is one of those tracks, when the tires go, they are gone. Like, there's no bleed off. And I think right then and there, everyone was like, this is a 2-stop race. Like, you heard all the Ferraris were like, hey, we're going plan C, right? Like, this is clearly now a 2-stopper, which I thought was interesting. The Pirelli data said that a 1-stopper would be the fastest. And it was like, nope. That went out the window real quick.
Yeah. Well, I think that was also kind of part to the fact that we saw that they had such a hard time, for one, getting the tires into temperature, and then keeping them there. And then once they, like you said, once it started fell off, because we saw Charles Leclerc was challenging Russell, and once he had no more,
3 seconds off,
it was pretty immediate. Yeah. So that was wild. Oh man.
But so let's get to the drama. So Leclerc is battling it out with who was he? I don't even remember which fight this was for. I think it was with Lewis. And they came over the radio and said, Sainz is not going to attack you, so you can focus on this battle. And then Sainz immediately blew Leclerc's doors off on the straightaway. And Leclerc came back and said, try it in Spanish.
Oh, man. Charles Leclerc, I'm sure throughout this race, I would like to see, like, I'm sure the heart rate, if you watch it, was just elevating, just getting higher and higher throughout the race as he got more and more pissed off. I haven't seen Charles Leclerc like this before.
He's usually like sad and dejected. This was throwing a temper tantrum, pissed.
Yeah.
And the best part about it was when he thought, they were like, please be sure to pick up all the crap on the tires. Pick up whatever. Oh, radio was on. Sorry about that.
He was just blind with rage at that point in time. He was so mad. But then the fact that he was I'm sorry.
That wasn't supposed to be on the radio.
So my hope for all of this, my hope is that now, and I'm hesitant to say it, I hope that Charles Leclerc has found the bottom.
I love it every time you say that. We find
emotionally. I hope that this is going to be what turns Charles Leclerc into his villain era. And I hope that next year I want to see him show up like full, like black leather, like maybe paint your fingernails black, Charles Leclerc. I don't know.
We're on full goth.
Yes. I want to see him show up.
If he comes in like, emo, we're going to have to worry about some things.
Just walked out a Hot Topic. Like,
that'd be hot. I'm here for it.
But I'm hoping that this is what makes him finally realize that, yes, you do need to look after yourself. You think Max Verstappen is concerned about anybody else on that track? No. This guy's a 4-time world champion now. You guys have seen that you are not going to win as the nice guy. Lewis Hamilton, he was able to do it as the nice guy, but
he wasn't a nice guy for always. Look at Nico Rosberg, Lewis 2015. There was nothing nice
exactly.
about that.
And so I think that Charles Leclerc needs to realize this now. And I'm hoping that next year, we'll see a new, more aggressive, more self-centered Charles Leclerc. I want to see the same for Lando Norris. I think that Oscar Piastri doesn't have to change. He's already going to be there. And now we're going to have George Russell. Hopefully that car will be fast. Could you imagine if we have a 4 or 5-way title fight throughout the entire year for next year?
That is something I wanted to talk about. And I didn't know we've got a triple header and we got to have stuff for the off season, but I am so excited for next year.
Yes.
The field is so open. I think that we're going to have a title fight all the way to the end of the year. I think next year is going to be one of those years that is like reminiscent of, was it 06 Kimi Räikkönen when he won by 1 point on the last race?
Yep.
Like, I think we're going to have one of those years next year.
I think it's
here for it.
It's going to be a year where friendships are going to be strained and broken, where teammate relationships are going to be broken, kind of like we're seeing now.
George Russell might have to write another strongly worded letter.
And he's quick with the pen. But so back before we leave the Ferrari thing, I think it's interesting that Charles Leclerc would even kind of think that right now, because Carlos Sainz is in his last 3 races with Ferrari. Carlos Sainz has proven in the past that he is thinking about himself. I mean, how did he get his first win?
We just said that. Yeah. You have to.
Exactly. He got his first win in, was it Silverstone, I think, when he completely disobeyed team orders. And that's what he does. And that's what works for him. And so for Charles,
he's got a couple of wins under his belt because of it.
Exactly. So Charles, to think that the respect game is going to get get you anywhere in the sport, it's not going to happen. So, but yeah, I didn't expect anything other from Carlos Sainz. I mean, he's trying to do what he needs to do.
Yeah. I when I saw that over the radio, I was like, that's silly. If I'm Carlos, like, what are you going to do? Kick me off the team?
Oh no!
Like,
I'm going to Williams next year.
I don't care.
I know Alex Albon's just sitting there like, oh my god, like not happy about what's happening.
The look on those mechanics' faces when Colapinto put it into the wall, like, oh my gosh!
And it's not. So I saw an estimate that in Brazil, the 3 crashes in Brazil cost the team over $3 million. Alone in that one race. And so I'm sure the investors are, every time they see this, they're just like, oh my God, like not again. And to see when they cut to Colapinto just scraping down the track, it was like, oh my God, what the hell just happened to that car?
That car blew apart. The only thing you're keeping is probably the monocoque at that point. Like,
lucky. Yeah, that's why 50G impact for Colapinto. That was, but yeah, those mechanics. The Williams mechanics for the past, I don't even know how many years. How many years has it been now? I was about to say 2 years, but
I don't know. The Haas mechanics like handed it off, but when it was Mazepin and Schumacher, those Haas mechanics were like, no.
Haas mechanics are looking down the garage like, oh, first time, guys? Yeah, my God, man. Those Williams mechanics. Shout out to those guys.
Shout out to those guys. All right, let's hit some highlights and then let's do our heroes and zeros because I think we'll cover the rest. McLaren, pretty quiet weekend. Not great. Not that quick. Pretty quiet weekend. It's what they expected. Haas and VCarb had some decent stuff.
Yep.
And then we're gonna get into some of this pit lane shenanigans, I think, in the zeros.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah. So on Haas, they're back up into P6 now in the championship by 1 point. Alpine looked like they were on for a good one.
And then
until all the mechanics
they
decided
went
to take a
full
nap.
on simple jack. They're the first one on my zeros list. I'm going to go ahead and hit it because we're already here. But I loved when Gasly was yelling into the radio that he has no power, not loss of power, not down on power, no power. And his engineer comes back and goes, everything looks fine on our end. And it flashes to him with smoke pouring out of the back of the engine. What? There's no power.
I love it. It's just like, no, man, you're good. You're good. He's like, I promise you, I am not good.
I don't know how you're arguing. It's like when my 6-year-old argues with me. Why are you arguing with me right now? My foot is on the floor, the engine is on fire, and there's no power.
Oh, did they ever say what happened?
No. Said power unit failure was all I saw.
Okay.
And then we have Esteban Ocon told to box. And there was one mechanic standing there waving at him as he drove down the pit lane.
I love it. I think DC was like, oh, he gave himself a self-imposed drive-through penalty. They're like, surely it would have like, surely it would have saved less time for you to just stop and wait for the mechanics to come out there.
Oh my gosh.
I want to know what happened. Where was the disconnect there? They're probably arguing with Gasly about his power unit not being broken.
I've got to slightly blame Ocon's engineer because you say box, box. If you look over your shoulder, I don't know if you know this, but the pit is right there. You can like see if you have maybe a mirror. You know, like on the ATM machines, they have those mirrors on either side so you can see people behind you. They need to like install that so you can see if the mechanics are present.
Just put little bells on them like a cat so you can hear when they're running out.
Oh my gosh, what a shenanigans.
Oh my God. Yep. And especially after such a good qualifying. Where the hell did Pierre Gasly come from? Like, who do you think you are qualifying P3, Pierre?
In that Alpine I was thinking about it. I was like, this might be kind of dangerous because that Alpine is so fast down the straightaways. Like, I think Red Bull's going to struggle to pass them.
Yeah.
Because it's so fast down the straightaways. If you don't have DRS on this track, there's not really any other awesome passing spots. Like, I was like, this could be dangerous. And then, that problem solved itself.
It sure did. Went up in smoke.
You could say that. All right. Let's do heroes and zeros. Or you got anything else?
No, I'm down. Let's do the heroes and zeros.
I'll start because I already said first one of mine. Mine was Alpine. We hit that. My second one is I'm going to throw to Williams. Oof.
Yeah. Which just not. I don't know. So I had them on mine too, and I don't know. Like the crash, I don't know. Colapinto's still a rookie. It was a weird one, but still. But just
it was
not
his
a
mistake.
Good weekend.
I mean, he was really trying to squeeze everything he could, clip that wall. I don't really put that against him, but I don't know how much more of a beating that team can take.
No, they're so ready for this last race to come. Did they ever say what happened to Alex in the race?
No, I never saw.
Okay. Yeah.
So
not a good weekend for them.
Oof. And honestly, I was struggling a little bit for the rest of the zeros. Everything else, there was some shenanigans here and there, but I'm going to kind of throw it to Charles Leclerc. I think you put it best. I hope he goes into his goth villain phase from here. I hope he realizes how good of a driver he is, and the only one that's going to care about you is you. Because I would love to see it. I think he's such a talented driver. I like Leclerc a ton. I would love to see villain era spicy Leclerc. Yeah. But he just got kicked in the teeth yesterday.
He did.
And I hope he learns from it.
Yeah. All right. So for mine, like you said, I couldn't really find that many. So we definitely have a lot of overlap. I've got Alpine on mine, Williams on mine, and I put Ferrari, you know, more so just because I felt like it wasn't like Charles Leclerc had issues, Ferrari just with the pit stop and just all that. I would like to do the honorable mention. I was going to not, but I have to put Checo on here. Like out in Q1 once again.
We gotta talk about the Sphere.
I love the fact that the Sphere had a video of him giving himself thumbs down after he goes out in Q1. Like the commentator said, I'm sure that's not what he had in mind when he filmed that little bit last year, whenever he did it. But the timing, whoever threw that up there, kudos to that person. Kudos to you. But yeah, man, it's just, I'm at a loss for words other than that. I don't get it. So yeah, Checo's on there.
All right, heroes. I'm throwing my first one is two. I'm throwing Russell specifically, as well as Mercedes as a whole. Russell drove lights out. He crushed it. Absolutely deserves that win. Hats off to him. But Mercedes as a whole crushed it this entire time. As you said, they were the top of the charts in every session. I hope they figure it out. I hope that this gives them some good data. I got to say, I love seeing Mercedes being so competitive. I think it's a lot of fun. So kudos to Russell and them. I'm giving it to Verstappen, 4-time world champion, did what he needed to do today or yesterday, this weekend. Hilarious interviews as he drank more and more. I love the guy to death. I love the villain Max and everything else. So Max, and for this last one, I'm excited for this one. I'm going to take this a different direction than you're expecting, Kurt.
Oh,
we're going to change things up around here. Okay.
Okay.
My last hero is Checo Perez. All right. He got 1 point this weekend. All right. He contributed to the team. He beat Liam Lawson.
He did.
So, he beat one of the sister team cars, and he did not manage to beat Yuki. Yuki got 9th, but Yuki's driving a hell of a drive, right? Yuki is special. Checo, I'm so happy that you're contributing to Red Bull's points. You gave them a very needed 1 point. They should stay ahead of Mercedes in the Drivers' Championship now. Good job.
I feel like you are just taking the bar and you've just removed it and just threw it on the floor. It's like if you're ever like managing a team and you've got that one person on the team and you're just so frustrated with them that you're just like, you know what? You did a very good job. Like maybe I can build you up and help you do better.
You did awesome. You contributed, Checo. I'm proud of you.
So I will say that I had my honorable mention in the zeros for Checo. I also have him written here with my heroes for an honorable mention because I did want to talk about that double pass that he pulled on.
That was pretty slick.
What was it? K-Mag and Lawson, I believe.
Yeah, that was ballsy. In the
that
turn
was
14.
Nice. It was. I think that he was channeling because that's what happened to him last year. Charles Leclercs got him by surprise at the same turn. I'm pretty sure.
On the last lap.
He went and he did that, and that was very clean. So good on him.
Good job, Checo. You're a hero.
The real American or Mexican hero.
Real man of genius. Today we praise you, Checo Perez.
You've had a rough go of things lately. All right. Was that all your heroes?
That's my heroes.
Okay. I've got some on here. I would like to say that George Russell, I think Mercedes, like you said, deserves it. They did really good. Lewis made a couple mistakes. I wish he wouldn't have. I would have loved to seen the fight.
He would have won.
For sure. He would have been up there. And I think he knows it too. Yeah. But George Russell, man, he controlled the race. He managed things perfectly and he just did great. It was a good run by George. So good on him. I can't not put Max on here. Just like you said, 4-time world champion, 4 in a row now. I think that this one probably means the most or shows the most from Max because 2021 was a big one because it was just back and forth with him and Lewis the whole time.
That one's got an asterisk.
That one, it does. But aside from what happened in Abu Dhabi of that year, I think that one was a really good one because he was going toe to toe with a legend of the sport.
Who is in a better car.
Exactly. Right. And this one, I feel like he told Zach Brown, like he didn't have the fastest car and he was still able to win the championship, still with three races left. Because he was, even when the car was so bad, he was still able to perform well enough to continue to get points. And he continually outdrove that car. So I think this one might mean even more. So
I agree. And I mean, 22 and 23, especially 23. That was such a I mean, he won the championship with like half the season still to go. It was so dominant
by himself.
He won the constructors by himself. Like, you know, I agree with you though. I think this year he's had to work on it. There's a lot of strategy. The car is better than the RB19, but everybody else has stepped their game up so much that, you know, he really had to step his game up. Yeah, I agree. I think this one probably means a ton, and I hope it reinvigorates him to keep in the sport.
Yep. And I say for my last one, I've got 2 on here. I want to give this one to Vegas. I think that once again, man, like it was an entertaining race. There was always something going on. And I don't know. It's just to see those cars fly down the Vegas Strip and just all of the hoopla and everything. I love it. I think this is a really cool race, and it's visually stunning. And it always, the past 2 years has provided an extremely entertaining event. So
it has. And I think one of my favorite parts was Terry Crews doing the interviews at the end, because he was just like fangirling the whole time. He didn't provide anything but like a fangirl who was just ecstatic to be there. And it was hilarious watching Big Terry Crews like giddy and dancing and shaking Lewis's hand. And it was hilarious.
That was cool. And oh man, those Rolls Royces, once again, the awkward drive. Max got his own with GP. And I love how the commentators, like, they're already into their debrief, talking about brake balance or bias and all this in the car.
And then he was like playing with things in the car. Like, you know, Max, you can get your own rolls. Like, I think you make enough, but whatever.
Oh yeah, that was entertaining though.
All right, let's get these predictions over, because all right. I didn't get anything on poll. The correct answer was George Russell.
Oof. And I think we both had Leclerc.
Yep.
Okay.
P3. The correct answer was Carlos Sainz. I had George Russell.
I had Max.
P2. Correct answer was Lewis Hamilton. I had Piastri.
I had Carlos Sainz.
You were close on that one.
Close doesn't give me points, though.
You're right. P1, I believe we both had Leclerc.
Yes, we did.
That's not right. Wild card, I had double Haas points. We got single Haas points.
Oh, we did. But he got enough points to get him in P6. I had Lawson over Perez
in the race. Yuki over Perez.
It was. I thought I was on for a good one once I saw the qualifying. But I was not.
Total points. I have 46. You have 29. Next weekend is a sprint race followed by a traditional. So there are 18 points left. If you win out, you'll have 47 points. Next weekend is your last chance to mathematically beat me here.
I'm coming back, baby.
Just like Lando.
Coming back. No, not like Lando. Oh, well. That was exciting, man. And I'm glad that we are rolling right into another race. I love these.
It's a triple header. I did not realize the last 3 were a triple header. So this ought to be great.
It's a triple header. No rest for the wicked. We'll see. Hopefully Red Bull has the correct wing for the next one. I think the next one's going to be really good for McLaren's, but we shall see. Next one's actually a sprint race too. Qatar.
Yep.
So it's going to be exciting. So
should be cold too. It's desert. So.
Ooh.
Desert
Mercedes
night race again. So
licking
Mercedes
their chops.
might be looking good.
We shall see. All right, guys. If you like the podcast, make sure you leave us a rating, leave us a review, and share it with a friend if you can. Check us out on Instagram, Formula_America. And I think that might be it, Dylan. Do you have anything else for this amazing Las Vegas Grand Prix?
That's all I got, Kurt.
All right. Well, on that note,
stay classy, America.
We'll see you next time.